U.S. is announcing on Monday it will be rolling back its humanitarian aid pledge to the UN to about $2 billion, telling UN agencies in the wake of the funding cut to, quote, adapt, shrink, or die.
Now, $2 billion may seem like a lot, but it's a fraction of what the U.S. has spent in the past. This year alone, the U.S. has spent more than $3 billion, and historically, that's been as high as $17 billion.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio explained the move in a post on X, writing this, under the president's leadership, taxpayer dollars will never fund waste, anti-Americanism, or inefficiency. Today, the State Department and United Nations signed an agreement that radically reforms the way the U.S. programs, funds, and oversees unadministered humanitarian work. He continued, this new model will better share the burden of UN humanitarian work with other developed countries and will require the UN to cut bloat, remove duplication, and commit to powerful new impact, accountability, and oversight mechanisms.
As to where that $2 billion is going, the U.S. and UN will reportedly sign a series of separate memorandums of understanding with 17 countries that the U.S. has identified as priority countries. They will be able to first receive the aid, including the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ukraine, Nigeria, and Sudan. Some of the UN's top priority countries, like Afghanistan, Yemen, and Gaza, will not receive U.S. funding under the new structure. Aid for Gaza will reportedly be handled on a separate track.
I think this is a just political winner, clearly. Go out, tell the American people, we're giving less money to the UN, we're giving less U.S. taxpayer dollars to people overseas. That's just, running up the scoreboard there. That's what the American people don't want their taxpayer dollars spent overseas. We spend billions and billions and billions of dollars on overseas programs. It's not popular. Americans want it to stop. So this is fine by me. We can cut more.
So I think it's a strategy to try to reshape and cut bloat, and that's important, right? We don't want duplicated programs or money that's not being used in the right way or just goes into one fund and then gets shuffled over because it was never used in a calendar year. But when I think about shrinking these agencies immediately, I looked into who can be affected by this. And I know that it's not always like, woe is me, all the countries around the world, and it's not the U.S. job to save everybody. But there are food programs like the World Food Program and IOM that are receiving billions of dollars, and they're going to receive billions less. And then we'll see that food rations will change. We'll see that there'll be reduced medical services around the world for different countries, fewer shelters for people to stay in. And so these are immediate effects that might take place within the next year that could lead to places like Sudan, Gaza, and Haiti having, and not Gaza because now it's been moved on to a different category, but even if we don't provide the same level of funding we did there, it will quickly translate into hunger and instability in a lot of these regions. So just to say, hands off, there's nothing we can do, we're funding too much, I mean, that doesn't seem like a good strategy.
Let's just think about Gaza for a minute. I mean, this is one of the great moral crimes here. We paid for its destruction because we give Israel money to buy our weapons, and they destroyed it, and now we're going to pay to rebuild it. I don't like that. I don't like...
But which one do you not like more? I mean,
I don't like either. I don't want to blow it up only to have to rebuild it a few years later.
Right, and you've argued the point that we should consider if Israel is doing anything that was beyond retaliating for being attacked.
Well, maybe they should pay to blow it up, and then they should pay to fix it.
Then maybe we shouldn't be involved, but we can't.
I think a lot of the American people
I don't think pulling the funding
wow,
is
thanks.
a good. I mean, it just as a matter of
pull the funding now. I mean, we did pay to destroy it, so we have maybe perhaps some.
Well, then this $2 billion this $2 billion fund or cutting it across the board in this moment is not the best strategy moving forward, especially when Gaza falls under that umbrella. That's what I mean. It's not. We can't. I mean, we can do it, but it's not the right thing to do.
The American people would like to pay for less destruction and then less rebuilding. That's my sense.
Fine.
Right?
Yes, I agree. I agree with that. I think that, we're talking about these efficiency reforms, but the world is facing new and unprecedented global needs due to complex issues around the globe, due to weather changes around the globe. There's several things that the UN provides funding for. And so when we think about those incidences rising and we think about the fact that America is now pulling funding, this is a bet that we're gambling on. Oh, we'll give less money and other people will give more and that'll balance the scales. And if it doesn't work, then what? We just allow the world to crumble because the US wants to be cheap in this one area that we were providing real aid for countries that are less fortunate. We're talking about Sudan, Congo, and we're just like, it doesn't matter to us. We just got to get our stuff
We
fixed
give
over
these
here.
countries so much money. There's no plan to make them self-sufficient. It's not. I would support emergency funding. There's some crisis, right? A weather-related event or something. There's a famine. We're going to help. But it's never. It's just year after year. We have to give more food, more medical supplies. What can we build hospitals there? Can we set up trade program? They're growing something and we're develop the economy. Can we move toward a place where they're not just dependent on our aid, or is dependency on our aid preventing them from evolving to more stable market forms of meeting the needs of the people who live there? I don't know why we can't be. The permanent solution can't be America just gives you everything you need. That's not working as a system. Maybe that would be a compelling system if in response the people were so grateful that they then became politically aligned with America and our interests immediately, but that doesn't seem to be happening.
Yeah, I think that
there's still a great deal of resentment toward America in the third world and in the Middle East. And even though we're giving them billions of dollars. So, okay, maybe say thank you next time. We're yanking the aid.
So you're going down from 17 million to 2 million.
But that's the point of
the thank you. That
Lindsay, that is the point of the aid, right? The people who in America who are defending giving it say we're doing this to engender goodwill about America in parts of the world where there's extremists who dislike us. Okay, fine. It just seems to be that that's not working, because there's still these extremists.
And I'm all about self-sufficiency and having an end game to the goals that we put forth in other countries. But I don't think that going from, in past years, $17 billion of aid to going forward in 2026 with $2 billion of aid is the right strategy. I think that's a dramatic. 17 billion probably was way too much. But if it's going to be 17 billion, let's say again in 2026, at least then yes, I don't mind a strategy. If Marco Rubio said the president and I sat down and talked about these hospitals we can build, this training program we can do. That's an awesome idea. That is a great way forward to talk about stability in regions that could actually benefit themselves and have people that live there, train there, working there. But taking away more than half of the funding from past years, or even a third, of the funding is wild, because there's people that are definitely going to starve and get hurt. And we talked about this when Doge made a lot of these cuts that didn't become
right. And
permanent.
I made many of the same arguments.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, well, I don't know about this. All these people getting hurt. Why can't other people jump in? It's like, okay, but if we just knee-jerk react to things and say, well, the president doesn't want to spend money there, we're not considering that there are people that are actually relying and going to live based off aid that they thought was coming in the immediate next few months and years that will no longer be here. And there's programs put in place in this organization. So oversight is one thing, and I think that's what we can do better. Oversight to make sure that every dollar is going to the right place. But completely just cutting funding this dramatically, just because we want to and want other nations to jump in, I think it doesn't have to happen so abruptly. We can have conversations with other nations and figure out how they're going to implement and how we can wean away what we've already promised and have them jump in a little more without just pulling it all away and saying, y'all figure it out. What would Americans in a 1998 poll expect to happen in the year 2025? We're going to tell you next. We'll be right back after this.